Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Today I want to talk about getting stuck behind a livescoper part 2. Uh, about a month ago I made a video on how to fish behind livescopers. If you haven't seen the video, go back in my channel. It's up there. You'll see it. Anywho, that video was how to fish behind livescopers that are out, focusing on those balls of shad out into that, say, 50, 60 foot of water, how to capitalize catching fish behind them. It's very interesting, got a lot of great tips in it. Go back and look at it. Today I want to talk about fishing behind live scopers that are targeting brush piles. The brush piles might be 20, 30 foot of water, and they're usually going and putting a drop shot in the brush pile, or putting the minnow over the top of the pile. I will touch base on that, but first I'm going to get into the story. Back when I was a kid, my mom, she would come and ask me, give me an option. Hey, this weekend, do you want to go to your cousin's house, hang out with him, or do you want to go back to the farm and help your grandpa? Well, if you go to my grandpa's house, you work cattle all weekend, you mend fence, you're constantly doing some kind of manual labor. So I thought, heck, I'm going to go to my cousin's house. So I packed some clothes. I got my BB gun. I packed my bike. I took it over there, and once I got there, my cousin was a gamer. I mean, walked in. He's got an Atari, and I remember sitting there watching him play this game. They had one television in the entire house, and he had the game up. It was a one-player game. He had one controller. I literally sit there all weekend and watched him play that video game, thinking, what am I doing? Let's go ride bikes. Let's go to the woods. Needless to say, from there on out, I got to be I got to be a guy that I can bend fence really good. I could help my grandpa haul hay. I'd rather go haul hay than sit there and watch my cousin play a video game. But needless to say, here I am 40 years later, and now I'm paying to go watch a guy play a video game. Uh, I guess I could be a pessimist and just sit there in a boat and watch him, or life hands you lemons, make lemonade. Well, today I want to talk about the techniques, what I use of catching fish behind these guys. And I have spent thousands of hours behind my buddies out practicing, learning these techniques. They'll be focusing on fishing those brush piles with live scope. I'm in the back doing my techniques. First and foremost, if your boater does go to there, see if you can, or ask him if he can leave the back unit on. Uh, Leave it on the mapping so you can look down the map. And if you understand topographical maps, you might be able to see underwater humps and just ledges. If you get the side imaging on, sometimes you can see a log. I know from thousands of hours idling in my own personal boat that when we use side imaging, we were looking for brush. We're idling miles and miles of shoreline. There is debris everywhere. And I know from live scoping, whenever we find a big brush pile, we can usually drop the live scope down on it, look at it. Your bigger brush piles usually hold smaller fish. I don't know why that is, and that's the case for me here, like at Grand Lake of the Cherokee. Those bigger brush piles have a tendency to hold those smaller 2 pound fish, little rats to say. Now, our bigger fish come off of, let's say, those individual logs that maybe have drifted down lake and washed up on the flats. Those are like a diamond in the rough. You find one of those, you fish it. That's usually where you're going to get those big 4 and 5 pounders. Most of your live scopers these days are focused on those bigger brush piles. So whenever you get up in the back, you're going into search mode. The techniques I use, my first one is it's a Carolina rig. I'm using a long rod. I'm bomb casting out. This is the time on a Carolina rig. I will tell you, I prefer tungsten over lead. 2 reasons. When I'm dragging it through the gravel, it's loud. It's drawing those fish to this bait that's swinging behind. The second reason is I'm feeling when I'm dragging this tungsten, it's bouncing across the bottom. It'll let me know, hey, is this bigger rock? Is it mud? Is it sand, pea gravel? When I do come up on a log, I can feel the log actually with the big tungsten. Now, for instance, if your boater's got you out, say that 20, 25 foot, he might have you 60 yards off the bank, bomb cast that thing, use a 3/4 or a 1 ounce weight. Um, I'm looking to get to the bottom. I'm looking to drag pretty fast because I'm in search mode. Now, when I come up on something, obviously I'm going to stop it. I will work it around that brush pile. When you do find the brush on your Carolina rig, stop just for a second and look at something on the bank so you can make that cast over repetitively. Like it might be a tree, a flagpole, a corner of a dock. Mark your spot. That will come into play. I'll get into the things I use on a Carolina rig in a new video. I always use a mid-sized brush hog, green pumpkin or watermelon red. It's only 2 colors you need. Second bait in that situation is a football jig. This is a 3/4. I do have some 1 ounce that actually do come into play in this situation. On a football jig, you're not so much working it like a football jig. What you want to do, again, bomb cast this thing, let it go to the bottom. Engage your reel and take off reeling like it's a hard head. Don't sit there and work it like a football jig, slowly drag, pause, and all that. Remember, you're searching, you're looking for those individual logs that are out there, and believe me, they're everywhere out there. Reel it like a hard head when you come up, and again, you'll be able to feel the gravel, mud, whatnot. But when you come up on that log jam or whatever, that's when you go to pausing your bait and popping it, working it, trying to draw a fish to the bait. Both these techniques have they're lifesavers. You have 2 options. You can sit in the bottom of the boat and pout and watch him play his video game, or you can get up and fish. Last bait is, and this is when, for instance, your boater gets you closer to more of those 45-degree angle banks, those steepier rocker banks, and you might be within 20 or 30 yards of the bank. You can actually make a cast up there. You can get on the bank. Drop shot. A drop shot is really hard to beat in this situation. Just all you're doing is popping it down the rocks, working it through it. If you threw, let's say, a Carolina rig up there on this situation, you're going to be frustrated because you will be hung up in those big gnarly rocks. Again, drop shot. I use the 3/8 cylinder weight. If it's too heavy, you can always cut it in half and lighten up your weight and all. But hopefully these tips will help next time you go out, because I don't see LiveScope going anywhere. It's you just have to get better or start playing video games yourself. Again, share, like, go back and look at my other videos. See you next time.